Guys, so I recently bought Warhammer Quest. I promised a few people that there should be some more videos. There are currently, well, there's one at the moment on Board Game Geek, and I thought it didn't perhaps represent the game quite well enough because it's an amazing game. So this is the box. We've got a great picture of a Barbarian, dual wielding weapons, which actually in the rules is not allowed, so he's kind of cheating there. We've got some rubbish elf. I'm not so keen on the artwork of the elf. And then over here we've got a very worried looking wizard who, let's face it, has every right to be because he's probably going to die. I actually am at a loss to find the dwarf on there. I think that he may have died, which would explain why the barbarian is carrying an axe. I don't know, maybe I'm being grim. So what do you get in the box? This is what this video is going to look at. You get quite a lot. Okay, so the very first thing you're going to be doing, and you can see all of the stuff I've got laid out, is picking your character. The character cards are quite nice. They've got little details on each of their sort of characters, wounds and stuff like that. Wizard has a power store for the number of power dice he gets, so he can use so much, or power tokens he gets. You can use so much for a spell. The elf has a bow, he's a bit rubbish, and the dwarf has a big axe, which is actually really nice. He starts off with some pretty powerful stuff. On the back of each of these cards you can see, and this is the dwarf's one, you've got a little backstory. So it helps if you want to do role-playing. I think the Barbarian's supposed to be from Nausicaa, which is interesting to me because I do believe they are corrupted by chaos quite often, but never mind. So you can see you've got the dungeon deck here. The dungeon deck is basically what will determine the order of play. You've got 5 objective rooms, you can see each of them laid out, and each one has a nice bit of sort of chat just to set the scene, and each one will result in up to 6 different adventures. You roll a dice and that will determine what adventure you're on. Then you add 6 cards to the deck, to that objective room and shuffle, and then you add 6 on top, so you've got 13 cards. The objective is in one of the last 7, and hopefully it will be at the top because you're probably going to die. Over here we have all of the tokens. I haven't bothered to take them out of the bag. You've got lots of dice, you've got a few tokens, power and stuff like that. A lot of them seem to be for show. You've got the pit marker, which is useful, but the trapdoor, no real idea why you'd use it. Portcullis is important as well. What we'll do in a turn is we'd turn over a dungeon card, which in this case is a passageway. That shows you where the doors go. The passageways are over here. That's actually the stairs, but it's the same tile. And then you'll walk down it, you'll explore another room, you'll turn over another card until you've run out of cards. These are the door markers, so you go through those doors. You get 10 of them in the box. I've only put 2 up here because I didn't see the point in getting all 10. 10's not enough, but it does. Okay, you can also see quite a number of other cards. These are the spell cards. The spell cards. The wizard comes with 3 spells, one for defense, one for attack and one for healing. This is a fireball. You can see it uses 5 power. His power is going to be what he started with, which is a d6, and then every turn he'll roll another d6 and he'll add that to it. If he uses up his store, which is the number he started with, then he's only going to use the one he rolls. So 5 is quite a lot, but it does quite a lot of damage. So it does 4 potential monsters, 1d6 plus 2. So that's quite powerful. So those are the spell cards. The event cards are quite interesting. Events occur in 2 cases. When you roll a 1 on the power dice, so when you start of every round, the wizard's going to roll a dice and determine how much power there is. If he rolls a 1, we turn over an event card. So the first event we've got here, a Goblin Spearman jumping out and trying to kill us. Okay, you've got special rules there, a picture of a goblin and all of his stats. They're worth 20 gold. Gold's important if you go into the role-playing or the campaign mode, and also is sort of determining the winner if you just do a one-off. If you go into a dungeon room, I've got my heroes on a dungeon room. Okay, there is dungeon room cards eventually, they're sort of smattered around, so this is the circle of power. Once you've entered a room, you have another event. And this is an Orc Ambush. You've got loads of different ones. I think that one actually came from just from a Games Workshop magazine. So you've got lots of monsters. You've got the events as well. So the portcullis basically traps you in the room. Once you've killed all of the monsters on an event, you get to take a treasure card, and they're quite useful. This is the Death Stone. Okay, use once per adventure, and it gives you the ability to cast spells for free, or potentially not. Okay, so it's quite a nice card. Obviously, you give that one to the wizard, and you can sort of buff your characters up as you go through. You've got loads of tiles as well. You've sort of seen me show off my models a little bit. Now, I bought this on eBay, and believe it or not, all of these models came pre-painted for me, and you get tons of models in this game. So let's just go through each of them in turn, because that's probably what we're most interested in. So here are the Skaven. You get 12 Skaven. Let me just try and get nice to the on the level of them. I think they're quite nice. They've aged quite well. I think these are probably the worst painted of this guy's skill. Still 100 times better than me. I think they've aged quite well. They still look like the modern Skaven. I like the diagonal slaughter bases. Over here you have the Minotaurs. They are nasty. They're going to mess you up. They've got hairy chests and everything. Okay, just as a size comparison, that's a normal Skaven model. So the Minotaurs are pretty big. Okay, and yeah, they're pretty powerful. You have quite a few swarms of things. These are bats. Most monsters will take a turn to appear, and then a whole turn will pass before they attack. Swarms tend to attack immediately, so the bats will come off the roof and kill you. Now, like I said, I bought this on eBay, so you should have got 12 bats, and unfortunately they only came with 10. I actually have some spare minis from another copy of Warhammer Quest, so it's not a problem, but yeah, you should be getting 12 of each of these models. Spiders, again, you should get 12. This one actually only came with 4, so that was the biggest miss. You also got 12 rats, but again, this particular instance only came with, well, didn't come with any, it came with replacement ones. These are the Snotlings, one's fallen over. They're pretty awesome. Okay, so I'm quite happy with these. They tend to gang up on you. Okay, so one Snotling is not very powerful. Together, they just make more powerful attacks. So if you've got 3, they'll do a much stronger attack to represent them clubbing you. Over here we have the various goblins. Okay, they're kind of messed up, unfortunately. I've knocked them around a bit. So the goblins are quite cool as well. This is a Goblin Archer. You've got a little quiver. Okay, you get 6 Goblin Archers and 6 Goblin Spearmen. Okay, and again, they're pretty cool. He's got an evil little grin on him. Very old-fashioned models, I suppose, in terms of Games Workshop's more recent stuff, but really good. Then you've got the Orcs. This is the Orc Archer. Again, quite an old-fashioned Orc model, I think. But I just think they're really awesome. And if you come from an old-school background in terms of Games Workshop, you're going to like them. This is an Orc. You'll notice he's got a shield. The Goblins do come with shields, but they weren't painted in this particular instance. Okay, so the Orcs, very standard, big chopper there, lots of skulls, very kitsch, very standard Games Workshop models. Finally then, you move on to the heroes. These models have been painted really fantastically, so props to the guy who did them. You get 4 in the base game. You get a Dwarf. Okay, so this is the Dwarf down here. You get an Elf, and I don't like the Elf. You get a Wizard, and you get a Barbarian. Now I'm sure we want to see those close up, so I'll give you a decent, well lit example. I don't think it likes this. There we go. So this is the Dwarf. Let's try and get into the light. Maybe on the dark would be better. There we go. So this is the Dwarf. Okay, he's got a big axe. The axe is super powerful. Okay, he looks pretty fantastic. The other big melee guy is the Barbarian. Again, he's got a nice fur cloak. So he's got that bit of a Dolph Lundgren He-Man sort of style going on from Masters of the Universe. Props to him. A very dodgy loincloth as well. He's probably going to get cold in the dungeon. Then we get the Elf. I don't like the Elf. I don't think he's as powerful as the others, because the others can slay more than one monster at a time. The model's really nice though. He's sort of doing a yell and sort of doing a bit of a He-Man thing himself. He's got a bow. He's the only one who can shoot from range. And just props to the guy who painted these. He's got really lovely freehand freehand runes all around the bottom of his cloak. I could never do something like that myself. And then we get to my personal favourite. He's a bit squishy, but not as squishy as you'd think. The Wizard. And again, I just think he's a really cool character. Clearly sort of inspired by Gandalf. He's got his cloak, he's got his robe, he's got a little potion. Ironically, he doesn't start with that. He's got some scrolls, and he's just really cool. Last time I played, he slaughtered a lot of orcs, way more than the elf, but I think that was more due to lucky rolls. So, that's actually the game in a nutshell. You also get a number of books. Let me just get those. An adventure book, a rule book, which basically details all of the rules, very clearly written as well. An adventure book, they tell you what you're going to go up against. So each room will have 6 different stories. And then finally, my personal favourite, the role-playing book. And this is not a little book, and it completely changes the nature of the game. It's so good. It has hundreds of details of creatures, so you can see loads of different things. You've got Chaos Dwarves, old school there. You've got demons. Chaos is actually the first one. I've chosen a bad page to turn to. You've got dragons, you've got centaurs, you've got dark elves, you've got orcs and goblins. It's really fantastic. Imagine about 3 codices from Warhammer or Warhammer 40k in one book. On top of that, you've got rules for settlements, you've got rules for special events, so you're going to get into trouble moving from a dungeon to a tavern and things like that. It's really well developed. You don't need a games master, which is amazing, and the art's fantastic as well. So that's Warhammer Quest. I hope it just clears up exactly what you're going to get if you ever were to buy this. People say it's very expensive. I can see where they're coming from. I'll be honest, in total, all of this cost £99, which is a lot for a game. When you consider that Fortune and Glory is £75, this is so much better. I don't particularly like Fortune and Glory, but I do think this, Minotaur's fallen over there, for the price of 2 games is well worth it, personally. It's a very good solo player game, it's an amazing cooperative game, and it's just a hell of a lot of fun. So I hope this clears up a few questions that people might have had, and makes people a bit envious, because it's a really fun game.